1995, Christopher Reeve was in Culpeper, Virginia for a jumping competition in Commonwealth Park. Saturday, May 27th began well. However, as he galloped toward the third jump, his horse, Buck, suddenly stopped short, and Chris was thrown from his horse.
I came straight down on the top rail of the jump, hyperextended my neck, and slumped down in a heap. Head first, 6 feet 4 inches and 215 pounds of me, straight down on the rail. Within seconds, I was paralyzed and not breathing.
Medics rushed Chris by helicopter to the University of Virginia Medical Center in Charlottesville, where doctors battled frantically to save his life.
Mr. Reeve currently has no movement or spontaneous respiration. He may require surgery to stabilize the upper spine in the near future.
Chris had broken the first and second vertebrae in his neck, damaging his spinal cord. He was paralyzed and unable to breathe without a respirator. He nearly lost all hope, but his wife, Dana, had hope enough for both of them.
And then I mouthed my first lucid words to her. Maybe we should let me go. Dana started crying. She said, I'm only going to say this once. I will support whatever you want to do, because this is your life and your decision. And then she added the words that saved my life. You're still you, and I love you.
Chris is a man blessed with an extraordinary inner strength. He's a fighter and a survivor of the First Order. But this has to be the toughest challenge that he's ever faced. I know it's mine.
After 10 days in intensive care, Chris endured extremely risky surgery to reattach his skull to his spinal cord.
We're encouraged by the fact that he's moving his right trapezius voluntarily. He also has some movement on the left side.
By the end of June, he was out of immediate danger. After a month in the hospital, Chris transferred to Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation in New Jersey. There, he began an intensive exercise program, drawing on the same qualities that had helped him in his acting career.
My experience of self-discipline, of resilience, a commitment to doing my absolute best, to really working hard, that work ethic that comes with being an actor, helped me tremendously in dealing with the prognosis they gave me and in getting me started on exercising and on saying something might happen, let's not give up.
There is an enormously new focus in Chris, a kind of, when you sit and talk to him, if you've known him before and you know him now, he is so there. He's so there that it's quite extraordinary. It's almost intimidating.
On October 16, 1995, after more than 3 months at Kessler, he made his first public appearance since the accident. He went to New York City to attend a fundraiser for the Creative Coalition. He was there to present an award to his longtime friend, Robin Williams. Many of his friends were moved by his courage.
I think it'll be good to see Chris again. I've seen him in the hospital. I think he's doing really well and very courageous.
He had met his first test. Once back at Kessler, Chris took on another new challenge. To help build up his breathing, he increased the amount of time spent off his ventilator. After 5.5 months at Kessler, in December 1995, Chris was finally ready to go home and begin the second part of his life. He dedicated himself to finding a cure for spinal cord injuries.
He was determined to do something about it. What he wanted to know was how.
Hello?
He said, well, will there be therapies that will restore function to people? I said, yes, if we're lucky, if we work very hard, and we had all the resources that we needed.
So he and Dana set up the Christopher Reeve Paralysis Foundation.
It's part of my obligation, I believe, to help push the public and the private sector to work together to make the funding happen, to keep the research scientists doing their job.
I don't know of anybody else in or out of a wheelchair who works as hard for the cure as Christopher has.
Chris began traveling regularly, making speeches and lobbying Congress to get more funding for spinal cord injury research.
There's a tremendous amount of good science that is not being funded, and the work is not being done. But it has been discovered that regeneration is possible in the central nervous system, and that's about as big a finding as the invention of the wheel.
He believed that with human trials for nerve regeneration just a few years away, he would walk again. He began talking about it publicly.
Then I'll get incremental recovery, breathing, use of my arms, and then legs, and eventually after walking.
In the spring of 1996, Chris faced the one-year anniversary of his tragic accident with optimism. He invited friends to his home for a party.
And we planted a tree out in the backyard and had a little ceremony of hope and affirmation about the future rather than dwelling on the past.
There's always going to be turns. We had hopes for how our life was going to go. It didn't go like we planned at all. So we've adjusted. You know, now we're on this road and we have hopes on this road.
By 1996, Christopher Reeve had spent a year trying to adjust to his devastating injury. But in spite of his paralysis, he was eager to get back to work. So Chris decided to do something he had never done before. He wanted to direct. For his directorial debut, Chris chose a drama for HBO called In the Gloaming, starring Glenn Close and Robert Sean Leonard. It tells the story of a family with a son dying of AIDS.
It was the ideal first directing project for me. It was very self-contained. All takes place in one house, one location. And it's really what matters is performance. Trying to give the actors the space to, you know, for them to spread their wings and fly.
Don't tell me you're finally asking me about my sex life.
No, I'm asking about your love life.
Oh, my love life.
No, I'm serious. Did you love? Were you loved in return?
Yes.
Good.
Chris received an Emmy nomination for his directing.
I was very, very proud of how generous everyone was and how everybody pulled together to make it happen, to make it easy. So I didn't really have to do much except just enjoy. Just watch and then say, Brent.
And action.
He also returned to acting. He appeared in a TV movie called A Step Toward Tomorrow and starred in a television remake of Rear Window.
No.
In 1997, Chris also experienced a change in his own condition. He regained some feeling at the base of his spine.
I feel all the way down my left leg, so that when I got 2 blood clots in a row, my left leg was excruciating pain. Sometimes pain is good.
In 1998, Chris chronicled his story of spirit and determination in his best-selling autobiography, Still Me.
Which is, I think, a wonderful title. And I think this was the most important effect of Christopher on people, that they treat people with spinal cord injury as people, as still them.
To help them, Chris and his wife opened the Christopher and Dana Reeve Paralysis Resource Center in Short Hills, New Jersey. It provides information on everything from travel to the latest in research for those suffering from paralysis.
Whether it happened yesterday or 20 years ago. And you can go online to paralysis.org and information specialists will help you. And I'm very proud of that because when I was injured, we had nowhere to turn.
In November of 2000, Chris saw another sign of progress in his condition.
And I was sitting in my office with Dana, and my index finger, my left index finger, began to move. And she said, "Are you doing that on purpose?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, try." And so I looked at it, and I did. And I tried, and I found, yeah, I could move it. And so I figured, if that can happen, well, who knows what else can happen? Let's go find out.